You'll do more, see more, eat more in less square footage than any other neighborhood in LA.
Wilshire Boulevard, Los Angeles, just after sunset. Neon signs begin to glow in 2 languages. A family disappears behind the doors of a Korean barbecue restaurant. Across the street, office workers line up for bowls of ox bone soup that have been simmering since dawn. Inside We Spa on 2131 Wilshire, people settle onto heated clay floors with books, blankets, and laptops, preparing to spend the entire night. A few blocks away, friends are still singing inside a noraebang long after midnight. Tomorrow morning, the neighborhood will do it all again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Koreatown rarely seems to sleep. More than 100,000 people live within just 2.7 square miles here, making Koreatown one of the densest neighborhoods in America. Across the Los Angeles metropolitan area, more than 300,000 people of Korean ancestry have built one of the largest Korean communities anywhere outside the Korean peninsula. Few immigrant neighborhoods anywhere in America have grown into something this complete, or become a destination for visitors from around the world. Chef David Chang has spent years eating his way through this neighborhood and always reaches the same conclusion.
In one block, you can walk to 5 places, each one more delicious than the last.
For Chef Roy Choi, who grew up here in the 1980s, the neighborhood has always meant something beyond food.
I came out here in the mid-'80s, and my dad took me to LA. I'll never forget, it's the first time in my life I saw a whole city in Korean.
Right.
David Chang remembers discovering the same thing years later.
The thing with Koreatown is that there are levels to it. You've got entry level, which is like Korean barbecue. Everyone knows about it. You got the next level, which are like army stews, smaller noodle shops, the sundubu. Then you've got advanced level stuff like seolangtang or naengmyeon.
And that's what surprised them. Not one Korean restaurant, not one Korean supermarket, but an entire neighborhood. Street signs, banks, churches, markets, restaurants, bookstores, pharmacies, law offices, beauty stores. An American neighborhood where almost everything spoke the same language.
Sometimes people forget, like, the ecosystem of a neighborhood. It feels like a whole different country, you know?
Right.
I feel more Koreatown than Korean or American sometimes, you know what I mean?
More Koreatown than Korean or American. That isn't confusion, it's belonging. A community so complete, so self-contained, that it became an identity of its own. But none of this happened by accident. It began with immigrants arriving after changes to American immigration law, with families chasing opportunity, with shopkeepers willing to risk everything. One of them believed an overlooked neighborhood could become the capital of Korean America, and with one businessman named Hi Duk Lee, who looked at a struggling stretch of Los Angeles and imagined something no one else could see. What he built would survive riots, economic collapse, and decades of change, but only after coming terrifyingly close to disappearing forever. Yet somehow, it endured. Tonight, we travel from the first Korean-owned shopping centers and family businesses to the rooftops of the 1992 Los Angeles uprising. From bustling strip malls and 24-hour bathhouses to churches, markets, cafés, and karaoke rooms that transformed a struggling neighborhood into one of America's most remarkable immigrant communities. A story about migration, resilience, identity, belonging, and the people who built a second Korea in the heart of Los Angeles. This is the human map, because when people move, the map moves with them. Subscribe and explore the communities, cultures, and hidden networks quietly reshaping the world. Before Koreatown was anything, it was a stretch of Los Angeles that nobody wanted. By the 1960s, the Mid-Wilshire area west of downtown was in steep decline. Businesses had closed, buildings sat vacant, property values had collapsed. The once glamorous district around Olympic and Wilshire Boulevards had become a neighborhood that longtime residents were leaving, not arriving. Then, in 1965, the Hart-Celler Immigration Act ended decades of restrictive quotas and opened the door for large-scale immigration from Asia. Among the people who came through that door were thousands of Koreans, some as students, some as professionals, many arriving with savings, determination, and the specific immigrant belief that hard work in America would produce opportunities their home country could not. The first businesses were modest: small grocery stores, dry cleaners, pharmacies, restaurants. Family-owned shops where husbands, wives, parents, and children worked side by side. One customer, then another. One storefront, then another. Among the newcomers was Hi Duk Lee, a businessman who had moved first to West Germany in 1966 because South Korea offered no economic opportunity, then to America in 1968. His wife Kil Ja worked as a nurse while he worked in a can factory and later as a welder. In 1971, Lee opened Olympic Market at 3122 West Olympic Boulevard, stocking it with Korean brand items that no other store in Los Angeles carried. The community scattered across the city suddenly had somewhere specific to go. Lee had a larger vision. He later explained it to the Los Angeles Times in terms that made the ambition explicit. Chinese people have Chinatowns everywhere: New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Montebello. But there is no Koreatown. He intended to change that. He bought 5 blocks around Olympic and Normandy. He built VIP Palace, a restaurant whose roof tiles he personally imported from Korea, the first Korean architecture in Los Angeles. He built the Korean Village Shopping Center. He lobbied Mayor Tom Bradley. He pressed city officials for formal recognition. And in 1980, Los Angeles officially designated the neighborhood as Koreatown, the signs going up on Olympic Boulevard without any official paperwork. Bradley and a councilman simply putting them there because Lee had asked. In 1982, the California Department of Transportation installed a Koreatown exit sign on the 10 freeway. Standard blue, standard font. The kind of sign that marks every exit in America. Except no other immigrant community in American history had its name on a state freeway sign in the city where it settled. By 1985, more than 2,800 Korean-owned businesses lined Olympic and Wilshire Boulevards. In 1988, Koreatown Plaza opened at 928 Southwestern Avenue, a massive enclosed multi-level shopping center designed specifically for the Korean diaspora. Not just a mall, but a self-contained world. Shops, restaurants, banking, social services, all operating in Korean. A piece of Seoul inside a building in Southern California. Roy Choi, arriving as a child in the mid-1980s, described seeing it for the first time as a revelation. An entire American urban landscape operating in a language that was his. Street signs, banks, churches, markets, restaurants. Hi Duk Lee lost his own properties in 1982. Interest rates, debt, tenants who could not pay, and left Los Angeles for a decade. The neighborhood he had built kept going without him. The frictions he had not resolved, between the Korean merchant class and the Black and Latino communities who lived around the commercial corridor, kept building beneath the surface. Then came April 29, 1992. Sa-i-gu. In Korean, it means simply 429, April 29th. As one community historian described the weight of those numbers.
Sa-i-gu literally means 4 to 9 or April 29. Just kind of like 9/11 represented a very harsh, historic, painful moment in U.S. history. For the Korean American community, it was a traumatizing, defining moment.
On April 29, 1992, 4 LAPD officers were acquitted in the trial for the beating of Rodney King. Within hours of the verdict, Los Angeles was on fire. At 4:15 p.m., LAPD Lieutenant Michael Mullen ordered all officers to retreat from South Central. The enforcement vacuum that followed was total. Police, fire, and emergency services became unavailable.
The trauma, even to this day, is very real.
The riots spread north from South Central into Koreatown. The LAPD made a calculated decision about where to protect and where to let burn. It protected wealthier neighborhoods to the west. Koreatown, sitting at the geographic intersection between South Central and West LA, was left.
My parents are good Christians. We've been through so much, and to go through this, everything, 22 years down the drain.
Community members who lived through it described the realization in the same terms: not fear, abandonment. As one account documented it,
I think it was a rude awakening moment in which they thought the American dream and the American system that was there, whether it's the police or government officials, were there to protect and to serve, really did not include Korean Americans.
Radio Korea shut off all regular programming. The station became a makeshift emergency dispatch and command center, broadcasting real-time intelligence on advancing crowds, coordinating defensive assets, relaying calls for armed reinforcement from trapped shop owners over the open airwaves. When the state collapsed, media infrastructure took its place. In Cho, president of the Korean Veterans Association, broadcast an urgent appeal to fellow veterans. Many first-generation Korean immigrant men had completed South Korea's mandatory military service. They quickly organized a defensive perimeter at Kim's TV warehouse. The images that emerged became the most iconic of the uprising. Community members on rooftops in polo shirts and baseball caps. Not tactical gear, everyday clothes, standing guard to protect their neighborhood. Fathers, brothers, business owners, defending strip mall rooftops in the same clothes they had worn to work that morning. Richard Kim, who stood guard to protect his family's electronics store, later described what the police absence meant. His mother was tragically wounded trying to shield his father. He recalled, "On the side of the LAPD, it says to serve and protect. They were neither serving us nor protecting us." At California Market, 20 employees and volunteers put on white headbands and fortified the building with armed sentries. Warning shots scattered advancing crowds. The store survived. But the most devastating story of Sa-i-gu is not about defense. It is about a mistake. Edward Song Lee was 18 years old, Korean American. He went to protect a Korean-owned pizza shop with 3 friends. The same impulse, the same community loyalty that drove the Roof Koreans. He tragically lost his life in a devastating case of mistaken identity, as community members mistook him and his friends for looters. Journalist Hyungwon Kang documented the heartbreaking aftermath in the street. A Korean American killed by Korean Americans in the defense of a Korean neighborhood during an uprising triggered by the killing of a black man by white police officers. He was 18 years old. When the 5 days ended, 2,200 Korean-owned businesses looted or burned, 40% of all riot damage in Los Angeles, an estimated $400 million to nearly $1 billion in losses to the Korean community. Almost no government assistance in the aftermath. The mainstream media framed what had happened as an inter-ethnic feud, looping the LAPD beating of Rodney King alongside the killing of 15-year-old Latasha Harlins by Korean store owner Soon Ja-do, compressing an enormous systemic failure into a simplified Black Korean conflict. What went unreported? In the months that followed, more than 20 Korean store owners lost their lives to violence in their own shops, a devastating statistic that never made the nightly news. What 1992 produced, paradoxically, was a political awakening. One community analysis described the lesson directly.
The model minority myth robs us of solidarity with other communities of color. We are all in the same fight.
Sa-i-gu became the political origin story of Korean-American civic engagement. The community that had believed hard work was its own protection had that belief destroyed in 5 days. It could not remain invisible again. When the fires went out, many people believed Koreatown's story was over. More than 2,200 Korean-owned businesses had been damaged or destroyed. Entire shopping blocks were scarred. Storefronts were boarded. For families who had spent decades saving every dollar, rebuilding seemed impossible. Yet something unexpected happened. Instead of abandoning the neighborhood, many immigrants doubled down on it. One business reopened, then another. Restaurants rebuilt dining rooms, markets restocked shelves, churches organized relief, community organizations raised money. Volunteers helped neighbors clean debris before insurance checks had arrived. The recovery was not led by a developer or a government agency. It was led by thousands of ordinary families refusing to let their community disappear. In 1995, Koreatown received CRA status, Community Redevelopment Agency designation, the direct result of community organizing after 1992. The uprising produced the political pressure that produced the policy. Then came an unexpected funding source from an unexpected direction. In 1997, the Asian financial crisis devastated South Korea's economy. The IMF bailout pushed South Korean investors to look internationally for less volatile markets. Some found a depressed Koreatown. Author Shelley Sang-hee Lee, who documented this period in her book Koreatown, Los Angeles, explained the specific irony. One of the consequences of the Asian economic collapse was the infusion of South Korean capital into places like Koreatown. Koreatown was depressed after the uprising, but investors recognized the potential for property in the area to bounce back. A financial crisis in South Korea that happened 5 years after the destruction of Koreatown in Los Angeles provided the capital that rebuilt it. Two unrelated events. Their combination was accidental, and it rebuilt a neighborhood. New commercial buildings appeared. High-rise condos rose on Wilshire. South Korean companies established LA operations. The 24-hour ecosystem that would define modern Koreatown began taking shape. And David Chang captured the commercial logic that made the rebuilt neighborhood stronger than the original. Describing what happened around Sunneongdan, he recalled,
The wait for Sunneongdan used to be so long that other restaurants are like, I should just open up here and get the spillover business.
And now, this block has some of the best food per square foot in all of Los Angeles. One successful restaurant created room for another. Competition did not weaken the neighborhood. it strengthened it. The same pattern repeated across Koreatown. Grocery stores attracted bakeries. Bakeries attracted cafés. Cafés attracted bookstores. Churches drew families. Families supported schools. Roy Choi has always believed people misunderstand that dynamic, explaining,
Sometimes people forget, like, the ecosystem of a neighborhood.
he is not talking about restaurants. He is talking about relationships. A grandmother buying groceries, students meeting after class, business owners helping new arrivals, neighbors recommending doctors and lawyers. Every new storefront made the next one possible. Walk through Koreatown on a Saturday afternoon, and something quickly becomes clear. People are not just coming here to eat, they are living entire days here. A grandmother leaves a Korean supermarket with bags of vegetables. Students crowd into cafes with laptops. Office workers disappear into barbecue restaurants. Families wait outside bakeries. Friends meet for late-night noraebang. The Korean Cultural Center distinguishes this from the Americanized term karaoke. Noraebang means song room, a private space where groups sing together rather than performing for strangers. David Chang mapped the neighborhood's structure as a system of levels, explaining,
The thing with Koreatown is that there are levels to it. You've got entry level, which is like Korean barbecue. Everyone knows about it. You got the next level, which are like army stews, smaller noodle shops, the sundubu. Then you've got advanced level stuff like seolleongtang or naengmyeon, a Korean staple, but not very familiar to everyone outside of Korea.
The advanced level is where the neighborhood reveals its depth. MDK Noodles, Myeongdong Kyoja, specializes in knife-cut kalguksu and hand-pinched mandu, the broth boiled for hours by the experienced Korean aunties, ajumas, who manage the steam baskets with precision that makes a punishing operation look effortless. Hanbat Shulongtang specializes in one soup, Seollongtang, oxtail broth simmering since before you arrived. Hamhung serves North Korean-style comfort food, recipes brought south by families displaced during the Korean War. Matthew Kang, editor of Eater LA, explained why Korean food resisted the external cultural colonization that changed other immigrant cuisines in America, noting,
Korean people haven't let other people speak for the cuisine. Koreans were the ones that opened the restaurants, that served the food, that wrote the recipes, that did the YouTube shows. And so we can represent our own food. And I think that's why it's so strong.
Yeah.
Kang also described the communal dining table as a cultural argument in itself, explaining it this way.
Everything is ours. It's sort of a reflection of the Korean and also greater East Asian mentality of communalness, right? It's like, I'm not an individual, I'm part of this unit. And like, that's why you're gonna eat from that, I'm gonna eat from that. We're both gonna put our spoon in there.
At the Prince on 7th Street, an authentic 1940s bar with dark wood and leather booths that served as a filming location for Chinatown and Mad Men, Korean diners now eat rice cakes and corn cheese in booths designed for old Hollywood noir. At Wi Spa, the Jimjilbang heated floor common area functions as the neighborhood's living room. People reading, sleeping, working on laptops, bringing children and grandparents together. Available 24 hours because Koreatown never closes. And in the geographic center of it all, Gelagetsa, the Oaxacan restaurant at 3014 West Olympic Boulevard, run by Bricia Lopez, whose family has anchored this specific corner of Koreatown for decades. Lopez described what it means to operate a Mexican restaurant at the heart of Korean Los Angeles.
Gelagetsa is a Oaxacan restaurant located right in the epicenter of Koreatown. The restaurant is a way for us to give our culture to LA. It's almost like the Zocalo Square in Oaxaca and listening to marimba and eating traditional food.
a Mexican Zócalo in the center of Korean Los Angeles. This is not an anomaly. Today, roughly half of Koreatown's 120,000 residents are Latino. The working-class infrastructure powering the back-of-house kitchens of almost every Korean restaurant is heavily Oaxacan. The Korean-Mexican intersection is not a cultural curiosity. It is the neighborhood. And within that dense 24-hour community, hidden in plain sight among 100,000 people, there are approximately 50 North Korean defectors. Sarah Cho runs a volunteer organization specifically designed to find them. She described the specific paradox of their situation inside this community.
Some North Koreans, they hide the fact that they're from North Korea. They have this title as being third-class citizens. And it's very unfortunate that among same race, people of same language, color, and culture, we have that discrimination go on.
In Seoul, a North Korean accent marks someone immediately and permanently. In Los Angeles, there is an accidental protection. As Cho explained,
here, at least if you go outside of Koreatown, if you're dealing with non-Korean people, when you go outside of Korean community, people just look at you as another Korean person.
the massive diversity of Los Angeles provides a blanket of anonymity that the most homogeneous societies cannot. Among 100,000 Koreans, 50 North Korean defectors are invisible. The city that cannot protect everyone protects them, accidentally, by not being able to tell the difference. In 1994, comedian Margaret Cho launched All American Girl on ABC, the first network sitcom centered on an Asian American family. A landmark. The first time Korean Americans appeared at the center of prime-time American television. The local Korean community in Los Angeles did not support it. Cho understood why. The show launched 2 years after Sa-gu into a community that was raw, defensive, and anxious about how it was being portrayed. She reflected on the invisibility that had preceded it, saying,
Or we didn't really understand how much invisibility had affected how we sort of related to America, or this idea of being American. Like, a lot of Asian Americans at the time felt totally okay with not being seen or not seeing themselves because we'd never had.
a community so accustomed to invisibility that representation felt threatening. A community so burned by 1992 that a loud, rebellious female comedian felt like a liability rather than a victory. Cho also described the specific generational divide that runs through every family in Koreatown. The gap between the immigrant parents who survived war and economic hardship and the American-raised children who had different struggles.
You know, and they grew up in such a different way. They'd been through wars, most of them, trying to make do, and then you had these kids who were growing up without any kind of real hardship. You know, the hardship for us was not fitting in.
The second generation inherited the neighborhood, but not the trauma that built it. They inherited the food, but not the famine that once made meat a luxury. Matthew Kang traced the generational inversion in the cuisine. First-generation immigrants treated Korean barbecue as a special occasion feast because meat had been scarce in post-war Korea, while the younger generation, raised in America, got bored with popularized brisket and moved toward hyper-specialized offal at restaurants like Young Money, reclaiming the time-intensive ancestral dishes the first generation had been too busy surviving to eat. The identity trap the second generation navigates is precise. As one second-generation Korean-American woman described it,
if you act like too Asian, if you have Asian friends, if you look Asian, if you dress Asian, you're called fob, right? And people look down on you. People are like, why are you even in America? If you act American, or if you have more white friends, or if you dress, let's say, not that Asian, you're called whitewashed.
too Korean for America, too American for Korea. Yet perfectly at home in Koreatown. Roy Choi captured the resolution in his own terms. Not Korean, not American, Koreatown. A neighborhood that became an identity of its own. Then the Korean wave arrived and changed the stakes entirely.
This is KCON, North America's largest Hallyu or Korean Wave festival, which ran this past weekend in Los Angeles.
Hallyu, the global spread of South Korean popular culture, was not built on Olympic Boulevard. It was built in Seoul. BTS, Blackpink headlining Coachella, Parasite winning the Academy Award for Best Picture, Squid Game becoming Netflix's most watched series globally. None of these came from Koreatown, but the community that had spent 50 years building the infrastructure of Korean culture in America was perfectly positioned to absorb the wave when it arrived. KCON launched in Los Angeles in 2012 with 10,000 attendees. By 2022, it drew 90,000, 9 times larger in a decade. National Geographic called Koreatown a second Seoul. The neighborhood most Angelenos had avoided after 1992 was now the neighborhood non-Koreans were moving into for the culture, which produced the next crisis. A one-bedroom apartment that rented for $500 20 years ago now costs nearly $3,000. The community that built Koreatown, defended it from rooftops, and rebuilt it with South Korean capital is now being priced out by the desirability their own community created. Large real estate firms now control significant portions of the residential and commercial properties. The mom-and-pop Korean businesses are being replaced by the generic amenities of gentrification. Koreatown has been built 3 times by the same community. Each time, the building created new pressures for the next generation to navigate. As evening settles over Wilshire Boulevard, the neon signs begin to glow once again. Families gather around barbecue grills. Students meet in cafés. Friends disappear into noraebang rooms. A grandmother speaks Korean. Her granddaughter answers in English. A customer orders in Spanish. Nobody seems surprised. Because this is what Koreatown has become. Not simply a Korean neighborhood, but a place where generations, languages, and communities quietly built a shared home. Most people driving through Los Angeles barely notice the blue freeway sign on Interstate 10 that says Koreatown. To them, it's just another exit. But that sign exists because Hi Duk Lee believed his community deserved to be seen. Near the end of his life, Lee reflected, "I have lost much money, but I do not regret what I have done since it all happened in Koreatown. My failures became fertilizer to bloom flowers. You know, an old-timer never dies. He just disappears." He disappeared in 2019. The flowers are still blooming. What immigrant community has quietly reshaped your city? Or, if you visited Koreatown, what surprised you most? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. This is the human map, because when people move, the map moves with them. Subscribe and explore the communities, cultures, and hidden networks quietly reshaping the world.